Hey everyone, today I'm here to talk about Drood by Dan Simmons. Could be Simons, but I'm going with Simmons. And I read this book a long time ago when I was in high school, so more than 10 years ago. Absolutely loved it. Loved it so much that I bought a copy, never read it again, realized, hey, I don't really remember what this book is about. It takes up I wouldn't say a lot of space on the shelf. Right. It's a thicker book. It's 940 pages, but it's not like it's taking up a ridiculous amount. Like if I bought like every Game of Thrones book, which I haven't even read, and put those on the shelf, that would be taking up way more space than this. But anyway, I was like, I don't know if I need this anymore. So let's reread it. Absolutely loved it when I was younger. Let's see if I still love it now. No. The answer is no. uh, This book is about the last 5 years of Charles Dickens's life, and it is told through the perspective of Wilkie Collins, who wrote The Women in White and The Moonstone and was a contemporary of Charles Dickens, and some say Charles Dickens was like his mentor, which I don't know. I don't know exactly what their relationship was. I wasn't there, haven't read any of their personal documents or anything like that. However, no one seems to remember Wilkie Collins, and I've read The Moonstone and I really enjoyed it, so I would consider checking him out, checking his books out. Anyway, he's dead. Don't check him out. Sorry. My mind's all over the place, obviously. But anyway, okay, Drood, Dan Simmons. This is going to be a weird book review. I'm just going to keep all of this in. You know what? I don't even care. It's 940 pages long, first of all, so it's really long. And there are just like pages of Wilkie Collins describing the guests at dinner, like literally going around the table for like 3 pages and describing everyone who's there. And I really don't give a crap, okay? I care about Charles Dickens and I care about the Drood character and I care about Wilkie Collins and all these like other frou-frou side characters of which there are a bazillion. I don't care about them. And I feel like Dan Simmons was trying to write like Charles Dickens, which by the way, back in the day, you used to be paid by the word. So, of course, they would attempt to write as many words as possible to make more money. Absolutely ridiculous. And, like, oh my gosh, I felt like it was just a waste of my time. Like, I don't have time anymore to sit around and read 940-page books where barely anything happens, to be honest. And I get that it was trying to cover the last 5 years of Charles Dickens' life, but we don't need all of that detail. It's absurd. And so I would just sometimes like skip whole sections and be like, are they talking? Yes. Okay, but are they talking about something important or are they just talking about the Christmas dinner? Oh, just the Christmas dinner? Okay, skip. Oh, now they're talking about something important. And or like it starts out really promising, like has a really great beginning. It starts out with the Staplehurst accident, which was a railroad disaster where like a car basically jumped a track. There was like a space and the first car made it over, but the other cars kind of like fell like sideways off the track and stuff. It's kind of hard to explain. I'm not very good at it. Just go look it up. Staplehurst accident. Charles Dickens was on the train and helped other people according to records and everything. So it starts with that. Starts really promising. He meets this mysterious figure after the accident called Drood, and it kind of goes from there. But then it gets really boring. And then like around page like 500, it kind of got exciting again. And then I was like, holy crap, there's still 440 pages of this. And then it was like boring again. Then it kind of got exciting again, but mostly like just so long, so descriptive where it doesn't need to be. And like I said, like basically barely anything happens in 940 pages. It's ridiculous. Definitely could have been shortened. Definitely think it would have been better if it was shortened. There is like a twist at the end, but I feel like the payoff for that twist was not worth that 940 pages before. So I can't say that I would suggest it. Also, it was really interesting to kind of research Charles Dickens afterwards because, of course, we just know him for his literary works. I think him as a person was kind of an a-hole. He left his wife of 10 years, or not of 10 years, he left his wife who had given birth to 10 children to philander around with this younger actress, didn't leave his wife anything in the will, also tried to get his wife put in an asylum, and possibly had given her an STD. But, you know, he was Charles Dickens, so no one wants to talk about that because he's perfect, and he was such a great writer. And I'm like, whatever, guys. Like, I tend not to like, just because I don't like an artist doesn't mean I'm not going to enjoy their works. I'm just going to come out and say that. Like, if I had to hold every artist to my standards, I would like not be listening to a lot of music or reading a lot of books, because I don't drink alcohol and I don't smoke and I don't do drugs. But like, if other people do, whatever, just don't do it in excess and don't go crazy and harm people. That's the big thing. I'm like, don't hurt other people. But Charles Dickens seemed like he was actively trying to put his wife away in an asylum and be a bit of a loser, in my opinion. So that's just that. But and I've read other accounts, where he was kind of known for picking up friends and then just dropping them whenever he felt like he was done with them. And I'm just kind of like, I don't like that. And yeah, he wrote about the poor and the horrible society of the time. And so I think that is good, though. I do think that is good to put that kind of in the spotlight. But as a person, I'm not like gonna praise Charles Dickens for anything that he did, even for his writing. But that being said, I've only read one of his books / novellas, maybe, which is A Christmas Carol. I almost got the name wrong. It's like A Christmas Story, what is it called again? Christmas Carol with Scrooge. That's what it's called, right? Now I'm doubting myself. But anyway, I've read that, and once again, very descriptive, but probably one of his better works, lengthwise, for sure. But yeah, Drood, like, I wouldn't suggest it, to be honest. It was just too long. If you want to learn about the last 5 years of Charles Dickens' life, go read a Wikipedia page, go read a biography that's actually about him. As a work of fiction, but trying to, weave in elements of nonfiction, I thought Drood was so boring. And at 940 pages, like, just unjustifiable. So, don't suggest it. It did portray Charles Dickens as a bit of an a-hole, which I think he was, so props for that. But other than that, I'm like, I'm giving this away. It's not going to take up space on my bookshelf anymore. So if anyone wants a copy of this book, Drood, yeah, let me know. My question for today was going to be, have I read any of Charles Dickens' books? And as I said, I've only read A Christmas Carol, and I'm like, I know A Tale of Two Cities, and I know Oliver Twist, Great Expectations. I feel like that's it. But once again, like, I find it very strange what literature we find great, but it's the same with all arts. Like, we see art that's put up in a museum, so we're like, oh my gosh, it must be amazing. But sometimes I see art in museums and I think it's crap. So I think it's the same with literature. Like, Wilkie Collins wrote at the same time that Charles Dickens did, but hardly anyone knows about him. But I read The Moonstone, and yeah, it was descriptive, and there were like some long parts, but overall I really enjoyed it. And yeah, so I'm like, why don't we just let people decide what they want to read and think is good literature, instead of being like, Charles Dickens is one of the greatest English writers ever born, and all his literature and his craft, and Same with Shakespeare. I'm like, okay guys, like, can we stop with the worship? Like, it's just ridiculous. And it's because we get taught about them in school that we think they must be great, right? And I'm just like, snooze over here. Yeah, whatever. So don't let other people dictate what you think is great literature or great art. You think for yourself. That's what I'm telling you to do. Think for yourself. And I guess if you're a really big Charles Dickens fan and like reading long books with very much description in them, then read Drood by Dan Simmons. Otherwise, I feel like this is a rare one where I can't recommend it. Because I feel like some of them are like, yeah, it was boring to me, but maybe. But I'm like, no, I wouldn't recommend Drood to anyone. Even if they're like, I love Charles Dickens, I'd be like, then go read a biography or go read some of his books. Don't read this. Sorry, Dan Simmons. I thought it was boring. Oh well. Thank you so much for listening to this very long, very random, rambling, out of this world. My brain's so like everywhere today. Yeah. Thank you for listening. Enjoy reading. Go check out my podcast called Fighting for Writing, and I also released another podcast called Mama Margaret Took an Axe, which is a true crime podcast about a woman who was accused of murdering her husband in the early 1900s in Iowa. And yeah, check out my website, tatesapb.com. Like, subscribe, comment. Do you like Charles Dickens? Have you read any of his books? What do you think about them? If there's one book that I should read that's not A Christmas Carol, which one should I read? Which one, if it's one? Thank you so much for listening. Enjoy your day, and all have a great day.